This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Out of Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It is time to get out of the pocket after a whiz-bang NFL draft last night. I'm joined by Cody from the C3 Panthers podcast. I'm joined by Mr. Country Kev from the Four-Man Rush. And I'm joined by producer Desmond. It was an incredible draft night, and we were on our podcast yesterday, and we were talking like Panthers are, drafting tonight. Like, talk about who they could draft tomorrow afternoon. But at the very end of last night, the Panthers traded up with the Buffalo Bills, go up from 33 to 32, and selected Xavier Leggette, the wide receiver out of South Carolina. They got their wide receiver to help grow alongside Bryce Young and Bryce's year in Carolina. Now, I thought this was very interesting. Now, I've seen some people bash it online. My personal opinion is move up that one spot to allow fifth-year option. If things work out with Xavier Leggette, you can use that fifth-year option. Cody, I want to start with you. What was your initial reaction to the Panthers drafting Leggette moving up last night? And after a night to sleep it over, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, one, thanks for having me back on the show. And two, I thought it was handled quite masterfully, if I do say so myself. Like, it was one of the worst kept secrets how much the Carolina Panthers thought of Xavier Leggette. I mean, he basically told the guy, if you're sitting there at 33, we're going to get you. But by essentially making a trade for, a pudding pack and a Lunchables, you do a real quick swap, and now you're able to get a fifth-round option on a wide receiver talent that you hope is going to be a main part of your offense for a long time to come. I've been very impressed with Dan Morgan throughout this entire process. Both when talking about what he's done in free agency and how he's handled the draft so far. I think Xavier Leggette is an incredible athletic prospect playing wide receiver. And some of the knocks that you'll hear on him is that he doesn't necessarily run every route in the route tree. But what I say is that you really don't need to. Like, he's going to feast on a certain few routes playing here with the Panthers, and I think that Dave Canales already knows the role that he envisions Xavier Leggette to fill in this offense. So I do like the comp to someone like a DK Metcalf. I think he has great hands. He's great at pinpointing the ball in the air and high pointing it and coming down with it, and he has great hands to top it all off. So, Michael, I think it's a great pick, and I think that now that receiver is truly out of the way, now I'm really interested to know how the Panthers see this draft going forward tonight and what positions they have at the top of their big board.
Yeah, that's a good point. And later in the show, we'll do our That As Well segment to talk about what the Panthers could do. They picked 39th tonight in the NFL draft. Kevin, what was your reaction to the Panthers trading one spot to make sure that they got their guy in Xavier Leggette?
Yeah, for me, I was really excited the fact that we were in a position to secure Xavier Leggette. Now, obviously, in real time, we wasn't aware that prior to the draft that our general manager Dan Morgan and Buffalo's general manager Bean had already had a call in conversation like, hey, towards the end of the first round, if you guys are looking to trade out, give us a call. So once that run on wide receivers after the 25th pick started happening, I believe that's when the phone lines got to moving. From what I'm hearing, it only took about 10 minutes of negotiations to get that deal done. I was pretty much thrilled about it. I've said multiple times, that Xavier Leggette would be what my gut says to go with for this team. Although there were other wide receiver options that I would have been totally cool with as well. But a little bias here, living in Carolina, Carolina kid, Mullen, South Carolina. Has a great story off the field of how he overcame so much adversity. I'm just really. Did he go off?
He was having some audio difficulty, so he's probably logged out to log back in. But keep going.
Okay, yeah. So I was just basically thrilled that we was able to get him. As far as the criticism of what it is that he can or can't do. This unfair comparison saying that he's just like Jonathan Mingo, who we drafted last year. I just really think that, he's going to show improve over time that he is his own man with his own style, and that he will be able to, like he said, I'm a grown man and I do grown man things. So I'm just definitely looking forward to watching him put his talents on display, not only as a receiver, but it was also mentioned as on special teams in the return game as well.
So I was watching the Laker Nuggets game, and I don't even want to get too much into my Lakers. Just for whatever reason, they cannot beat Denver Nuggets. I don't know what's going on, but they just cannot beat Denver. And so I'm watching that, and I get a message from Mike right at the tail end of the thing, and he was like, "Well, I guess tomorrow's episode just got more interesting." And I'm just like, "What just happened?" So I flipped over, and I saw my phone was starting to go off that the Panthers had traded up. And I'm like, to 32? Like, why did they trade up one spot? Like, I was trying to, my whole thought was, what happened to make them go up one spot and give up a fifth just to go up one spot? My first thought was, well, maybe Buffalo wanted Leggette. And that was the conversation. But after talking to some friends this morning, it was like, no, more than likely there were other teams trying to get ahead of Carolina to get to Leggette. And they caught wind of it. And that's why they pulled the trigger. Because otherwise, there's no legit reason to trade up into the first round when you're the first pick of the second. Like, you literally just moved up one pick to get this guy that you gave up a fifth round pick for. And I'm like, why would you do that? The only reason why I can think of you would do that is if you caught wind that a number of teams were thinking of either trading up with Buffalo, because Buffalo, like Kev said, had indicated they were willing to trade out of the first round. So there were some takers already, and they were shopping around, and they had a relationship with Carolina, and they let them know, like, hey, yo, Team A, Team B, and Team C have all indicated they want to trade with us because they're interested in Leggette. Thought we give you the heads up and give you the courtesy of wanting to make an offer. And I think that's kind of what happened. So Leggette seems like he was the one that was zeroed in on to begin with. I love his size. And now you've got a wide receiver room that went from, DJ Chark and those guys last year to Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Jonathan Mingo, Xavier Leggette, and whatever else they might do tonight, because there's still a bunch of wide receivers on the board. Like, there's still a lot of wide receivers that haven't been touched yet. So I'm interested to see what they do at pick 39. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, yeah, that was my initial thought was, why would we move up one spot and give up a fifth when he was going to still be there today, unless somebody was going to trade up instead of us, and that's where I landed. So.
And can I just jump in here and say, too, I remember when Dan Morgan was hired as our GM, and a lot of the detractors felt like he was a holdover from the Scott Fitterer, Matt Rule regime, and, just like basically leftovers instead of going and get someone different, right? Like an Adam Peters. But I really do think that maybe if Dan Morgan isn't the GM, this trade doesn't happen for us in this way. Yeah. And I think because of the prior relationships that Dan Morgan has built with the likes of Brandon Beane up in Buffalo, people over in Seattle, he has that network now of people that have ties to the Panthers and ties to him. So I think Dan Morgan did a great job, and I think that you're already seeing the benefits of, him having the knowledge of people around the NFL that he does. I think that helped us secure Xavier Leggette and move up a little bit.
Mike, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yes. Sorry, I had to pop out and pop back in. The technical difficulties always happens every show, whether it's my end or somebody else's. So glad I'm back. But
it's the curse of us podcasters. It's going to happen no matter what.
Yep, no matter what.
Oh my goodness, yeah. You guys know, if you guys haven't seen Cody with the C3 Panthers podcast, Kevin with the 4-man rush, Dez does Believe in Panthers. They all do great content. So it worked out having you guys on the show. But Panther Blazer thinking who y'all got for the second and we'll talk about that to close the show today. So stay tuned. But the rest of the NFL draft happened as well last night. I mean, it was a historic draft. There was 14 offensive players picked at the beginning of the draft, and that was the longest streak of any side of the ball at any point in any round in any draft ever. Was 14 consecutive players picked on one side of the ball before we got our first defensive player picked by the Colts, Lachney from UCLA. There were some questionable picks at quarterback. Some people think particular teams reached, maybe Atlanta or Denver. So I just wanted to know what your biggest takeaway from the NFL draft last night. Kevin, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, for me, I would say the biggest takeaway would be, the rich got richer. Kansas City drafting Xavier Worthy. My God, I'm like, Jesus. Like, it's almost borderline cheating now. Like, you essentially, have gotten Tyreek Hill official replacement, and let's not get it twisted. Like, I know a lot of people will get caught up on his was it 4-2-1 40 time they around, but this guy has a route tree that he runs. Everything is just not all 9 vertical go routes. Like, he not only has speed, but he has quickness, and he runs a very efficient route tree. So Patrick Mahomes just keeps reloading the clip, and it's just going to be a problem, once again. But which is why I'm so glad we got Brant Tillis, from them, so that he can share some of those secrets with us of how to effectively draft good players. But for me, that was my wow moment of the first round.
Yeah, Cody, what was yours?
Listen, man, it's hard to not say the Atlanta Falcons. It's really hard to not say Atlanta. And listen, the fact, and I didn't even know this until this morning, Michael Penix wasn't even one of Atlanta's top 30 visits. It wasn't even one of their top 30 visits. So if you're like, there's already clips of Atlanta Falcons fans in a space freaking out over the pick. And it's like that's unprecedented. Somebody that didn't take a top 30. Apparently, they had only met with him at the combine and when he did his pro day, when he was doing his throwing drills. That was the only time Atlanta met with him. You just signed Kirk Cousins to all this money. By the way, coming off of what did tear his Achilles or something?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, he's coming off of a bad injury, and then I don't know. You draft somebody that your fan base is not really happy about. It's kind of wild. And to be honest, I like Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix is a good player. I think he's a good quarterback. But it just seems, I don't know, just very counterintuitive to whatever plans Atlanta, or at least their fans, thought they had.
Yeah, I landed on Atlanta too. Like, I don't understand. My biggest takeaway from draft night 1 was that Atlanta is stupid. Like, that was kind of that's kind of where I landed on. It's like, Atlanta is dumb. Like, what are you doing? Like, you went into this offseason knowing you needed a quarterback. You had money to pay for one, and you had a top 10 draft pick. So what do? You give $100 million guaranteed to Kirk Cousins and don't even know if he's going to be ready to play yet because of his injury. And then you draft you reach for Michael Penix Jr., who you probably could have got today in the second round or third round. Watching him play and hearing the pundits, he throws the prettiest pass out of all these quarterbacks, including Caleb Williams or whatever. Out of all these quarterbacks, Penix was probably the best actual thrower. But like, what are you doing? Like, you needed playmakers. You needed some stuff to help out with on offense, which you've already done the past couple of years with Kyle Pitts, the Robinson running back pick last year. Keep that going. There was all kinds of weapons on the board, and you picked Penix. And apparently Kirk Cousins didn't even know. Kirk Cousins didn't know they were going to pick him until the pick happened on TV. So, like, his agents out there are like, we're kind of upset. We don't know what's going on. So you've created this dynamic before you even make it to training camp of a quarterback controversy in Atlanta. So chef's kiss to Atlanta for helping us out in the NFC South. We love nothing more than seeing our peers fail. So thanks for doing that in April. So we're good to go with Atlanta. And then my other takeaway was the Bears. The Bears came out perfect. If the Bears couldn't have scripted it any better in that top 10 to get Caleb Williams number 1, and then to get I always pronounce his last name wrong.
Roma Doomsday.
Roma Doomsday. To get him at 9 to pair with DJ Moore on the other side, like, okay, now you're cooking with something, and now they can go into today rounds 2 and 3 and really start to complement the stuff around Caleb Williams on offense. So that was my biggest 2 takeaways. Atlanta's stupid. The Bears offense just got kind of potent in the NFC North.
And I would just like to add real quick, I had actually spoken to a very knowledgeable Atlanta Falcons fan. He's like a brother to me. Get some insight. I'm like, bro, use at the stadium. I get all the, like, what's the logic behind the pick here? So apparently Raheem Morris had said that when he got hired that he was going to draft a quarterback and well as sign one in free agency. And the nod is that the upcoming quarterback class for the next 2 years, unless you got a top 5 pick, really doesn't look too high, or whatever the case. And if you take the bias out by being on NFC rivals, Atlanta's roster is currently almost in a win now type of mode. You know what I'm saying? And what he was telling me was that this is thinking the long term, kind of like following the Green Bay model. You know, have a quarterback, but go ahead and secure your future. And I know that's a hell of a risk, and the optics don't look appealing. You know, number 8. You know, especially with the quarterback. You know, with Pennett's injury history. But he was just telling me that that's the line that they're thinking. You know, the long term with Penix versus right now, because they feel like that they're not going to be in a position ever again to get a quality quarterback. Is what he was sharing with me.
I will say this too before we turn back to you, Mike. Brett Wiseman is saying Atlanta copying the Packers model, copycat lead won't work though. Mez, you have to pick the quarterback on April 23rd. It's not exactly the Packers model though, because Cousins wasn't there before. The Packers model is that you have an incumbent and you bring somebody in to sit behind them for a couple of years. These 2 guys are coming in at the same time. Like they're going to be in quarterback competition from day one. Whereas you knew with the Packers, with whether it was Favre or Rodgers or Love, they weren't going to play immediately. Like they were going to sit. You knew it because they got drafted. They didn't get drafted in the top 10. They got drafted later on in the first round. So it was almost like they dropped and the Packers picked them up. Whereas here, Atlanta reached and went up and got Penix at 8 and didn't need to. Like, so it's not the Packers model at all. It's just stupid. It's just dumb. Like, I don't understand how this helps Atlanta next year at all. So,
I mean, maybe they also don't have as much faith in Kirk Cousins recovering from that injury. You know, maybe they feel like, well, okay, if we do have a win right now roster, then maybe it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we do have somebody that can come in and kind of work their way through it. But then I don't know. Then you got to imagine all the differences of being a receiver and having to catch passes from a left-handed quarterback to a right-handed quarterback. Like the angles are different. The way you catch the ball is different. But I don't know. I like Penix, the player. But I hope that if Atlanta is never successful.
If they had doubts about Cousins, then why did you give him $100 million guaranteed?
I'm saying
exactly.
Like, stupid. It's just dumb. Like I can't explain it. It's just like everybody's calling Atlanta stupid right now. They're all pointing at Atlanta and going, "Y'all are stupid. Y'all are the dumb ones." So.
And they tampered. They might lose a pick or 2 next year because of dealing with Cousins. So yeah, the Falcons. Yeah,
what's going on? Yeah, just
Falcons. Plus, I feel like everyone's giving Kirk. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say I feel like people give Kirk Cousins too much respect. Everybody talks about how lethal he is as a quarterback. Like to me, I just think he's a choke artist. So I think he's perfect for Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, I was happy you went to Atlanta to begin with. I was like, this is great.
You guys touched on it. Like, yeah, you might not have faith in Kirk Cousins returning from this Achilles injury, but you don't give him this big deal, and a lot of it's guaranteed. Like that guaranteed billions you're throwing away. Now, the Chiefs had Alex Smith, and then they drafted Patrick Mahomes around the same time frame. The Atlanta Falcons picked Penix, and maybe in 3-4 years, we're looking back like, wow, why did nobody else take Michael Penix? But for now, when you look at the roster, you look at the rest of the division, Atlanta could have been in a position to win the division with Kirk Cousins coming in, with John Robinson. There was some pieces there. But now with their head coach hire, I don't love Raheem Morris. He didn't do too well. Was the head coach at Tampa Bay. And in addition, like, just drafted back up in the first round when you need other holes to fill. It's not a recipe. And it's very unfortunate if you're a Atlanta Falcons fan, but none of you guys are. So you guys are Panther fans. You guys are incredible Panther content creators, whether it's Believe, whether it's Carolina Cat Chronicles, whether it's our Men Rush, and Panthers pick number 39 tonight. I wish I could ask you about 33, but that, isn't a thing anymore because of the Panthers trading up for Xavier Leggette. Who do you think the Panthers take with their 39th pick if they stay there? I mean, we could see another trade for the Carolina Panthers, whether it's up or down. Cody, what do you think happens tonight?
So if I'm a betting man, which you can now do in North Carolina.
Yes.
If I'm a betting man, I think that it's going to be center. I really do think that if you look at what Dan Morgan and the front office has done throughout the course of the offseason, I mean, they've spent over $150 million in 2 guards alone. Like, they got the message after last year. If Bryce is ever going to be able to figure this out and do this successfully, you have to have a dominant offensive line. And right now we have Austin Corbett penciled in at center, which, okay, fine. But he's also not a center. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience playing that position, even if he does have a little bit here and there. And just knowing how much you have, prioritized your protection, prioritized being able to run the football seemingly at all costs, if you believe Dave Canales. So I just think that especially in today's NFL, your offensive interior is so incredibly important, man. Your combination of guards and your center. And that's going to be very important for Bryce going forward. And that's having that. So I think having a contingency plan outside of Austin Corbett is going to be very important to them. And they continue to double down on, they want competition at a lot of different major positions. So I think that fall in lines with what they're looking for.
And now we had a comment in the YouTube section earlier today from Panther Blazer asking what we would do at pick 39. You guys can be a part of the conversation. Comment Des runs through the YouTube comments and gets to decide what comments make it on screen. Get a shout out, just like Panther Blazer did, calling Kirk Cousins trash. Our YouTube comments being filled. Be sure to subscribe to Tobacco Road for more content. But Kevin, when you look at this 39th overall pick, does Carolina stay there and take their guy, or do we see some more movement tonight?
With me, I'm leaning towards they're likely going to stay there because a lot of unexpected first-round caliber talent just got dumped into the top of the second round. When I say dumped, I mean dumped. This guy's just available there that, if the mocks have any substance to you, you were thinking they would have been gone by now. So for me, I think we stay at 39. And as a trench guy, it would be easier for me to co-sign with Cody and say Jackson, Powers, Johnson would be the obvious. For me, I'm going to go a little bit of different route here. I'm a huge fan of Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker out of Texas A&M. I mean, you talking about a Dan Morgan type of move. This is a guy that has a Dan Morgan, type of resume per se with his college play at Texas A&M. I mean, you're talking about someone that is fast, high football IQ, got that dog, that personality that we was talking about here, can play the run and the pass both effectively and efficiently. Because when you look at our linebacker court, we got Shaq Thompson, coming back from, a serious injury. And, he's starting to get a little long in the tooth as well. Not old, but older. I know that we signed the guy out of Denver as well. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But
Jersey Jewel.
Jersey Jewel. Yeah, thank you.
Jersey Jewel.
And again, I like him too. But, when you think about our different, whether we're in our base 3-4 or our different nickel dime sub packages, linebacker play, you stick a guy like Edgerrin Cooper in there, along with a healthy, Shaq Thompson, depending on how we line up. You're looking at something serious to contend with. No longer worrying about, running backs and tight ends, beating us. And we now have someone that could essentially neutralize, that threat. So now if both Jackson Powers Johnson and Cooper are available, the trench guy in me would say JPJ, but I would be equally as happy taking Edgerrin Cooper at 39 for linebacker. To me, that's just a Dan Morgan type of move.
So I'm looking at who's left, like the remaining best players ranked on Mel Kiper's board, which is the first place I went to, just to kind of get a vibe of what's there. Honestly, I'm trading this pick. I'm trading 39 so I can get to the bottom of the second round and pick up some thirds, because the fun is going to be in the third round. Like there's so much talent that's going to still be sitting there in the third round that you don't have to reach for, that we could literally use day one. Like I'm looking at guys like Trey Benson at Florida State, the running back. He's ranked number 26 on Kiper's board, but he's the second running back on the board overall. Like we need a running back to pair with Chuba Hubbard. I'm not sold on Miles Sanders, and I'd like for them to go draft a rookie. Same for Blake Corum, the running back from Michigan. He's going to still be there. He's ranked 35. Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia. Skylar has been high on, reporting for West Virginia for Sports Illustrated. He put him on our radar back in like November. They've got him rated at number 31. Like he's probably going to make it through the second round. There's your starting center right there. Like Jalen Polk, the wide receiver from Washington, is going to still be out there. He's rated at 28. There's just talent. I'm just seeing up and down here. Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon that everybody had really high, he's got him listed at 41. Like in terms of players remaining that are ranked or whatnot. So you can get some value there. And I would trade 39 down to the bottom of the first and grab somebody like Chris Jenkins from Michigan, the defensive tackle, and of course Chris Jenkins' son, to put him beside Derek Brown, or Peyton Wilson, the linebacker from NC State. He's going to be still sitting there. Has had comps to Luke Kuechly. Like there's some things they can do in the late second, early third. And I'm curious to see what Dan Morgan does here on night 2 to position himself on the board, not just with his second round pick, but his third round pick too. I think he's going to end up moving some stuff around to get extra picks just for the sheer amount of kids that are still on the board. This was a really deep draft at a lot of positions. Look at the first round, the first 15 picks were all offense. So, I mean, there's some stuff to be had. I think Morgan's not done going around. And I will say this, I learned it from Stu, but watch the player reactions, the former player reactions of the Panthers as Dan Morgan is doing these things. They are rooting him on. Like they are 110% invested in Dan Morgan being the general manager. The vibe is just different around the building this time of the year compared to last year. We were all kind of super excited about the coaching staff and what we were going to do and everything else. But looking back on it, it felt kind of like fool's gold. This is more like palatable. Like, okay, they have a purpose. Like the ship is aimed in one way and they're all on the same ship and they're all going this way. Like they know what they're doing. So I'm excited about it. I'm ready to see Dan cook tonight.
I agree.
Yeah,
and there's also some good players left too. Ladd McConkey, Adonai Mitchell. There's some really good players still available.
Yeah, and then also at cornerbacks as well, you got Kool-Aid McKinstry still available.
Yeah.
What's the other guy? Deshaun, the other cornerback.
Just saw his name a minute ago. Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean. I'm sorry, Cooper DeJean. Yeah, so
he's got him listed number 1. Yeah, so he might come out. That might be who Buffalo picks here with 33.
But it's rumored that Buffalo may be potentially trying to pull off a deal for either Ayuk or Deebo Samuels or T. Higgins. That was something I saw late last night with that second round, since the 49ers are now willing to use a second round pick for them. So, and then with them drafting Pearsall, so okay, one of them wide receivers is about to be on the move.
What are the Bengals doing? Like it feels like doesn't it feel like the Bengals are dismantling their offense?
Yeah, because Mixon
they traded Mixon,
left for Houston.
And now it looks like they might trade Higgins. They gave Chase a bag, but I know they drafted a lineman last night to protect Burrow, but who's he going to throw to? So
Tyler Boyd's no longer there, right?
Don't recall.
Higgins said the Bengals haven't talked to him in over a year about a contract extension. That's why he said they're not even.
He's out.
Yeah,
he's out.
Yeah,
man. Why do the Panthers not want to ever get any Clemson players, man? I don't understand. I'm hoping that we get Will Shipley in this draft. Will Shipley from Charlotte.
Fifth
Bro,
round.
Will Shipley is from Charlotte.
Yep.
I
Played
think
for
he played.
Weddington.
Yeah, played for Weddington. He was good at Clemson, man. So I
wouldn't mind a 5th or 6th rounder on Shipley. Like that would,
Yeah.
I would be totally fine with that. And he'd probably start off on special teams or something, but he's kind of a poor man's Christian McCaffrey, I guess. No, not really. He's not like, he's kind of.
Why do you say that?
Because he kind of is. I mean, that's kind of his game. He does a little bit of everything that McCaffrey does, just not as well. Like he's not as fast. He's not as strong. He's not as big. But
he did run a 4.4 at his pro day.
He runs 4.4. He can run inside the tackles. He's pretty deceiving with that. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run the route tree. His game is similar to Christian McCaffrey's. He's been compared to him since high school.
And he's versatile. You can do
very versatile. Clemson just had a couple of down years and they weren't really able to spotlight him the way they had running backs in the past. So
tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have Phil Maffa too. We had a 1-2 punch with him and Phil Maffa.
He would be a great fit.
Dude, he's a bruiser.
Yeah. So we'll see what they do. But like I said, Dan's got some stuff to do tonight. I didn't watch the whole thing last night because I had a baseball game to call, but tonight I'm penciled in at 7 because I want to see what he does because I think it's going to start early.
I had a running bet that you would have fallen asleep before 32. Did that happen?
Me? No, who me? No, I was up till 2 in the morning last night. Yeah, I had to call a high school baseball game, so I was already wired when I got home, and then I already knew the Lakers were playing at 10, so I knew I was going to be up till at least 12:30, 1 o'clock. Ended up staying up watching Inside the NBA, and then this happened with them trading up, so I was just up and. So I had to go to bed till like 2:30. So I'm tired. I'm tired right now.
Shoot. Well, we'll get ready for another long night for the NFL draft. We'll see what the Carolina Panthers do at pick 39. If you guys have been watching us on Tobacco Road, whether you're from Cody's channel with the C3 podcast or whether you're from Kevin's channel with the 4-Man Rush, Tobacco Road Sports Radio also covers local, high school, college, but we also cover national sports like we did with the NFL draft, and we'll continue to do some more coverage over the next few weeks with Out of Pocket. So we'll be live during your lunch break. So enjoy, subscribe, download, do all the things. Go follow Cody with the C3 podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's his Twitter right there. Kevin Avery, there's his Twitter right there, 4MR_country Kev, 2Ks right there. Desmond Johnson.
Yeah, my original Twitter's still hacked by the Bitcoin bot or whatever that took it over a couple of months ago. And Bitcoin's gone up ever since it hacked my account. So, who knew? I just wanted to mention Embrace Debate. It's still out there. We haven't done one since the end of the season. I had a bunch of other stuff that was going on. I couldn't find the time to squeeze it in. We're probably going to change the format slightly where instead of it just being Cody versus Monty, we'll probably open it up to a lot of Panther content creators and just kind of schedule it out where it'll be Cody versus Kev one day, and then the next week it might be X and whoever versus whoever. We'll separate it out like that. So other Panther podcast creators can get a chance to come in and debate. But that's still there. It's still on the Fans First Sports Network. It'll probably be back in August when training camp comes back around. But we'll have promo and all that stuff for that when we come back around.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You can catch all the Out Pocket episodes. Panther Blazer, thank you for the shout out tonight. Will be interesting. You can catch all the Out Pocket episodes on demand on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. That's why you should subscribe. You should also follow Out Pocket on Instagram at outpocket_TRSR. That's outpocket_TRSR for more of this content. But we got to get out of here. If you're still wanting, go check out our stuff on demand. I also had a wrestling podcast, so shout out. I'll be at AML Wrestling this Sunday for Brad Attitude, Nick Nemeth. So come say hey, get a picture with me. We'll post it on our channel. But for myself, Michael Davis, it's been Cody Lachney from C3, Country Kev from 4-Man Rush, Desmond Johnson from Tobacco Road and Believe in Panthers. We will have a great weekend, and we will see you guys back here Monday, 12:30 p.m. for your lunch break hour.